ungodly area. So I was born on, he was a teacher and principal of a school, public school. And I was born in the premise of the school with a midwife. And then 11 months later, they discover it was the best camouflage for him to recruit member to his party because he was specialized in recruiting the peasants and farmers. So they took him for another 5 years in an awful place. And when he came out, I was 6. And when he kissed my mom, I was upset because I thought, who's this strange man you're kissing, Mama? She told me this is your dad. So it's stuck in my mind. You see, in my office, there is a picture of me and him. I was 11 months and that's in 1947. And had they hanged him there or killed him, this is my only relationship to my dad. So he affected my life indirectly because I didn't see him much. Either he's making money or he's fighting the government. So I came to the United States in 1977, stayed in Baylor for about 21 years. After I finished my training, Dr. Crawford asked me to join him. And I rose to a professor whenever, and I was chief of division of vascular surgery, not by accidentally, but they didn't have anyone to lead it because they were about to lose their accreditation, so they gave it to me without sending me a letter. At the same time, the Trey, I don't know, I hope Trey is here. We discovered that our chair of the Department of Surgery, since then died in a drowning accident. John Baldwin was looking for a job in the Northeast. So I told him, we have. That was 1997. Said that I don't want to deal with the new chairman, so I need to write at least 10 papers. And he and I published about 10 papers in 1 year, which takes a lot of time and effort to do it. So whoever coming to me as a chair he has to deal with me instead of me dealing with him. Fortunately for me, at the same time I was thinking that way, the UT College of Medical School, which is the dean was my friend, Dr. Max Bouya was there, and Memorial Hermann merged. Some of you should know that Memorial was Memorial Baptist, Southern Baptist. My wife is was Southern Baptist until she married me. So they merged with Hermann and became Memorial Hermann around 1998. Is that true, Dr. Bouya? He is not here. Anyway.
Yes.
In 1998.
Yes.
And then Don Wolford wanted to have a first-class cardiovascular service and thoracic service in Memorial Hermann, first in medical center, and apparently he talked to adjoining hospital to build that. And it was told to me and confirmed by the same guy who he told him. He's since then dead, so we can't talk bad or good about him. Don Wolford was a professional football referee for colleges. And he told him, you don't win championship with varsity team. I need first class. And somehow he and Max Bouya, and I think the other person was involved also, Steve Allen, who is, I think, retired as a chief of a CEO of a big hospital, approached me in December of 1998. And I'm not when I come to meeting, I don't have 1, 2, 3 and reach the form. I just go to the main point, and I abhor shackles and so on. And somehow, and I am grateful to Dr. Bouya, he continued to talk to me because I was in one point almost rude. because they asked me, what's your vision? I told them, well, Hitler has a good vision. And I met two chair, one of them, Dr. Richard Andracy, and he told me, I'm not your problem. I told him, I'm not coming to be chief of division. I need to have department. Otherwise, it's a lateral move, and I'm not coming to a lateral move. I'm happy where I am. He said, I'm not your problem. The Department of Medicine is your problem. And I told him, but I'm going to take vascular, thoracic, and cardiac from you. He said, I have no control on it. Apparently, Sir Luke's control who in charge of this service. And personally, I believe that cardiothoracic and vascular surgery are all interconnected. So I wanted to have a service as well as a department where it deal with that. And I believe it's almost a thinking at that time that the whole thing work together better because they will cross-pollinate with the new ideas, whether you do a FM pop or coronary bypass or minimally invasive valve or insert a TAVR, it's all connected. So I went to the chair of the Department of Medicine then, and he gave me a lecture about how he went to Harvard and he was in the other place, and he told me straight to my face that he doesn't want first-class service. He said it in front of Dr. Steve Allen, so I looked at Dr. Steve Allen and told him I'm grateful to him because he's very frank with me. I'm cutting off the discussion. During that time, and I told Ned, my assistant, don't listen to anything from Memorial Hermann or the school. I'm done. But somebody, the chair of that department, continued to talk to me, to talk to her. And I told her, ignore him. But I have a paper needs to be sent to circulation, and I'm a sucker to writing a paper, which I still remember it. It's my series of elephant trunk patient with, in order to repair ascending an arch and thoracoabdominal aneurysm, which is a special way to do it, two-stage, which part you do first, the front or the back. And I want to send it to circulation for the impact factor. So I talked to him because he was the editor-in-chief. Unbeknown to me, and this is what's told to me by Dan Wolford and Max Bouya. They told him, if he doesn't talk to us again, we're going to go after you. So he kept talking to me until I had and he asked me, please talk to them again. Otherwise, the whole thing would not have happened. So in December, I restarted my talk, and it was finished. It's a very complicated discussion. And I think by May the 2nd, I signed the contract. And I came September 10th. I think the University of Texas, the academic year starts September 1st. Is that correct, Dr. Bouya?
Yes, September 1st.
That's why I came September 10th, because I had a few cases in Methodist and I want to do them. So I came, I didn't operate, it was a Friday, I didn't operate till on Monday. And it to be, pull the dagger from the sheath and stab me in the back, because she went to Methodist, and some of those whom I didn't like, they told her that he is not a good surgeon, he doesn't have good patience, and he's not busy, and his result is bad in Methodist. That's why he fled. So I didn't say anything, because it's good to have your enemies or your opponent have the wrong strategy. So I plow Roy Scheinbaum, Craig Ignacio, and Thelma with me. I didn't come alone. And George Letsu. Somehow he decided to be on his own. And I told him, okay, that's no problem with me. And we brought the first year, I think, I operated on 793 cases. And these are not toenails, ascending arch, elephant trunk. And Tony, if he is in, will tell you when he met me in June, when I told him, shook hand with him and told him you're starting July 1st. I was like a zombie because I have to start anywhere between 4 or 5, not unusual to have 10 cases a day. And I have 2 fellows, one of them Tunisian French, and the other was from Nigeria. That's all my team. It was rough, but you have to concentrate your mind at what you want to do. And we brought a lot of good cases, a lot of prestige, but I didn't worry about the money. I mean, I was paid well, and I didn't negotiate to increase my salary at all. I wanted to have support to the department to hire people. Luck has it, I have Dr. Tony Estrella, and Tam Nguyen came and joined me. Tam Nguyen, I think, stayed 3 or 5 years and left. And we built this department slowly. From the beginning, we have morbidity and mortality. We have grand rounds. And even when I was alone, I used to invite Max to come to us and talk about complications, because that's, you have to set the standard for you. And we apply immediately to have a residency program in vascular surgery. And we cooperated with the University of Texas, MD Anderson, to have a consortium of 3 hospital, Methodist, Memorial Hermann, and MD Anderson, to have 2 residents. Well, during that time, we used to have residents from St. Luke's in thoracic surgery. And for some reason, they pulled them out. But we didn't care. We just moved on. and it's really, it went well. I consider it till the year 2002. We start building. We have 2 operating rooms. I operated in 1 room. I just remember room, I think 15 in the old building, which was the operating room was built the same year I was born, 1946. Even I found roaches in it. But 2002, there was some changes. The chair of the Department of Medicine became the president, and we start, basically the school was not in the same wavelength as me and as us. Luckily, I have Dr. Bouya and the Juanito Roman were with me. And that continued to do, we continued to bring people like Eyal Parat and so on. But in 2006, I don't know, you remember McKinney, who came from Dallas? I was...
Yes, he was sent to the administration at the presidential level was not going well. So he was sent from the Board of Regents to try to ride herd over things.
Well, I think between 2002 and 2006 was, to me, a very rough period because I couldn't expand the administration higher above the level of the dean were basically active against our department because they were loyal to St. Luke's and so on. So it was rough. And I tell you, I always felt that there is always a line in the sand for you. You compromise, but there is a point in your life where it's your Gettysburg. In June of 2006, I had it, and I had a meeting with my department, the faculty, Tony, and the rest. And I told them, I'm going to go to Austin. They might fire me because I'm going to tell them I had it with my leadership. And luckily, Deborah, my wife, took me there because I drive well, but she was worried about me thinking too much. So I told her I'm going to talk to the vice chancellor for executive vice chancellor for medical affairs, and I might find I have to look for another job. Luckily, UT Austin accepted my way of thinking and sided with me. And so I'm very grateful to them. Took a while before everything changed. At the same time, we didn't stay complaining. We continued to do the work, which means clinical work, research, as well as building our residency program. We never stopped, like the Grand Round, the morbidity and mortality, which is very important. I remember in I think 07, between 06 and 07, I have 5 deans in 1 year. So I have to deal with them. And somehow we ended up with a new president after that, and things moved in a different way. Different deans. Was Dr. Colosoto became the dean and subsequently the president. At the same time, Dr. Juanita Roman decided to build a hospital where dedicated only to cardiac, thoracic, and vascular surgery, the HVI. But you have to know the reason for that hospital was built or completed because they want to do it for the cardiologists, just to bring cases, which was 3-story. That's why the 6th floor was for the equipment and the generator and so on, because that's what they wanted to do. Luck has it that the neighboring hospital offered me a job to be chair there, and which was a lot of good money, more than what I was making here, and as well a bonus of a good chunk of, I've never seen it, amount of money of check. They gave it to me, so I decided not to be there because I love academia. So the hospital built the 7th and 8th floor to keep me here. So this is one of the things you need to know. And after the same time, we did an aortic symposium. So we didn't stay still. We just find a way to promote knowledge and so on. And after that, the hospital, our service expand. We covered St. Joseph for 5 years. We are covering Northeast, Southeast, Memorial City, and and I think Southeast. Yes, I said the Southeast and the Northeast, and Memorial City as well, the Greater High. During that time, we have 3 programs. We have the vascular program, 5 and 2, and 0 and 5 means you come from medical school. We have the thoracic program for 5 years in general surgery and 2 thoracic. We deal with the cardiac. We continue to have aortic fellowship, where you done your general surgery or vascular, or you're from outside, you want to spend a year or 2 in our department. But the working relationship from the beginning, once you are joined the department, you have the freedom to critique me, to do anything you want to do. And you have a veto power on me, whoever I hire, unless you have a personal vendetta against that person. Unless if you convince me that the person is not good for us, I will listen. And the reason the department where it is now, I think it's because not me. I think because a lot of people. I mean, the people I brought with me, the friends I accumulated. The best one is Dr. Max, who played an important part in recruiting me, took a chance on me, and Steve Allen, who's a good man, and on the way I found a lot of friends here, and the faculty, an outstanding faculty. And because of that, you know, the academic medicine or academic in general, academia, it's a small village. If once you do a good job, you treat the residents fairly. I'm not in this touchy feeling equally, and the faculty well. It will spread. Like I will consider it like when you throw a pebble in the lake, there is a vertical impact, which is what we are doing in the hospital and the school, but the waves goes far and far. And you know, I'm always, there is a saying that if in academia, because the price is so small, so that's why the fighting is fierce, which is really, it's not true, because look at me, I'm, you know, from Baghdad. I operate in every continent except the Antarctica, because there are no people there. And I live in a nice neighborhood. So the academia it has a lot of rewards. Those ideas somehow we are quirky and so on. The most important thing in these 2 decades is never to lie to your team. And if one of them did a mistake, you have to look them in the eye and talk to them and tell them what's the mistake, regardless what the response. Some will accept it, some don't. And I don't think most us as a Homo sapien, I think we look at the end result and go backward. You know, if you see all these events I told you, working with Dr. DeBakey, who fired 9 residents in 1998, 1979. It was not me, I was promoted. Also working with Dr. Crawford, who didn't allow anybody to work more than a year or 2 and they leave. So all these, at any point in my life, I could have been gone. Like, for example, if the Austin said, no, you are wrong, you are fired, I would have been, so don't look at the person at the end and look backwards. See what's your decision. We decided good, we made mistakes, but we corrected it, and I'm fortunate to have one of the most outstanding residency program in the nations, highly sought to come and join us, and also the outstanding faculty. And we attracted outstanding faculty this year, like Tony Estrella with his charm, and I couldn't do it before. I tried, but I failed. But somehow he could bring an outstanding surgeon, Aldridge, Dr. Aldridge, and that will add a lot to us. But I strongly believe that you know it's not going to happen in a linear way. It's chaotic. Life is almost chaos. It reminds me of our physics professor in Baghdad University when we asked him what's his life, and he left the lecture hall of 200 of us and came back with a bucket of water. You put his hand in the bucket of water, throw it up, and take a picture. That's life. Still stuck in my mind. He was a little bit eccentric, let's say. So I think chance control our lives. That's why we need physics. We need math to understand it. So in a way, I was lucky to meet outstanding people, became my friends, and I was lucky I have a fulfilling life, both in academia as well as in real life, and I'm still, thinking, working, and helping you. With that, I will stop and ask me any question.
Hazim, that was very nice coverage of your career here with us. If I could provide just a little bit of background, if you go back into the 90s, Hermann was a freestanding hospital, but it was clearly in increasing financial difficulties and really needed to look for a partner. But in order for that to be possible, there was a need to renew the affiliation agreement between the University of Texas and Hermann. And I worked with the CEO of Hermann at the time to get that done. And a year after that, the merger with Memorial happened. But if we go back to when I first started as dean, we had a very dysfunctional cardiovascular program. And with good cardiologists, but with basically a attitude of from the folks down the street that they would just occasionally send the surgeon down and do a little work, their second or third team, and it was just not acceptable for my standards. But then when, as you mentioned, the merger happened and Dan Wilford became a force, we had a strong hospital partner now to insist on a first rate program. And the three of us, Wilford, me, and Steve Allen, found you and recognized your outstanding talent and wanted to have you establish a program. We had to continue to fight off our chairman of medicine with obvious conflict of interest, but he did not prevail, and we did. The other thing I would say is that your concept of cardiothoracic and vascular surgery as a department, I think, was a brilliant insight. There are departments of cardiac surgery, but the thoracic part and the vascular part can be fragmented. But by bringing these threads together in a unified department, I think really was a brilliant move that has led to a distinction on all of these fronts over the years. So I think that's another very strong insight that you had at the very beginning that's carried forward very well over the last 20 years.
Thank you, Max. I think Tony needs to, Tony is an outstanding from the beginning. When he was a resident, we knew he's going to do very, very well. But he never worked with me for some reason. Maybe he didn't like me. He was worried about me when I started doing the CSF drainage. How many times did you work with me, Tony?
It's very interesting, just the way the schedule worked with DeBakey. I only worked with you on one case my entire residency. It's very interesting because back then, you remember David Chin and I, we didn't do DeBakey's service. He did your service, and I ended up doing Howell's service during that first year, Howell and Noon.
Okay, so this is it, but we haven't corrected it. How can we correct it?
But so it's very interesting. And when you came up to me to ask me for a job or to offer me a job my first year of thoracic residency, I told you that I'm only a first year. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing 2 years from now. But I appreciated that, and I remember you saying to me back then in 97, 98 that Rome is burning. Rome is burning.
and
which
see.
was some insight onto what was happening with Baylor and Methodist at that time. But to reflect back on my experiences at Baylor, it was very pathological. As a resident, you just worked 140 hours a week. You didn't look up, and you were always afraid of losing your job, and so you're always in this paranoid state, and so it was very draining and pathological. And I remember working with one of my staff my first few months in residency, and at the very end of that rotation, he told me that he was going to go on vacation, go fishing down in Cancun. And I said to him, that's going to be great. You're going to have a good time. You and your wife will have a great time. And he told me, I'm not bringing my wife. What do you think? What are you crazy? So this was sort of that mentality that was in that department, at that time. And I remember seeing on a Sunday, I always remember this. I was with my wife. We went to go out to eat at Houston's. Houston's on Kirby, and this was in 1993. And then I saw you, which I only knew of you. I didn't know you because I never did your service, but I saw you, Deborah, and Joe and May having lunch, and it sort of made me realize that you don't have to be this pathological, personality that I had experienced for so many months at Baylor. You can have people that care about life and take care of their family as best they can, and it made me appreciate that at that time. So that was one of my early memories of you. A second set of memories really relates to my second year when I was in the unit, and although I didn't do the unit like you did, where you had to spend 60 days straight there, we were there every other night. So we were there pretty much 24 on, 24 off, and your goal was to keep everyone alive to the next shift. If someone died, then DeBakey would fire. You were fearful of DeBakey firing you. But also, you and Joe Caselli were doing all those aneurysms. And I remember you brought on the CSF drain at that time. And you would get on all the residents and nursing staff if the pressure wasn't less than 10. And so everyone knew when you were on rounds. When you're on rounds, I would make rounds on the aneurysm patients, 30 minutes before. And my goal was to get that pressure less than 10. So I was literally sucking the fluid with a syringe to get that fluid out and drain it. Now, we know now that you're not supposed to do that. But, obviously I didn't know that at the time. I just wanted the pressure less than 10. So
that's it.
But but having said all that, it wasn't until later on that, again, I did that case with you, but you always had fellows. So that wasn't really an issue. So as a thoracic fellow, I had to cover or help cover the other folks in Fonda and Brown. But I remember, when I was finishing up and trying to look for a job, and in 99, 2000, there weren't a lot of jobs for cardiothoracic surgeons. And, in the end, Hazim, you have to probably thank my mom.
Well, I always thank her. I told her that.
Yeah, but I never told you this story, though.
No, tell me.
I was asking my dad. So I had a couple jobs, one in Waco and one in Dallas. And Dean Booya, or Dr. Booya, knows my dad because he had worked up in Dallas. I had a job at Southwestern, and then, Baylor didn't offer me a job, and then you had offered me a job, and I was trying to decide, which position, should I take, and I talked to my dad, and my dad said, you need to stay with Hazim Safi down in Houston. You can be part of building a program down there, but more importantly, if you come up to Dallas, your wife, Vicky, won't get along with your mom, and they're going to get divorced. So, and in the end, indirectly, my mom caused me to stay down in Houston, and so that's one of the stories that you really didn't know.
I didn't know.
Probably influenced me to stay in Houston, aside from being part of something new, and that was sort of exciting to me.
It was dangerous.
Some reflections from my standpoint.
Now you met me in June when I gave you the key. I told you to shake hand with you. There's no contract or Anyone pitch in? You know, I didn't have any contract, and nor I gave a contract. Just shake hand and you are in.
This is
There's
you
a
know,
question in the chat for Alejandro. Great talk and thank you for your advice. What was the hardest part of start training in the US and building the program at UT? 2, how do you become a positive leader? And 3, why at UT are there 2 groups of CT surgeons? Should it be better to have only one group working together?
Well, I'll answer the second one first. This is, you know, politics, and I don't get involved in it. That's a hospital policy, and I respect it and the school. So that's beyond my things. I agree with you. One is better, and sometimes 2 is better too. The way I came from, I went to, you know, the story that I met Dr. DeBakey in December of '74 in Baghdad, and I didn't receive anything till I cut my ticket to go to England to get the fellowship of the Royal College of Surgeons of England, because I passed the first part in Baghdad, and then I went to England to take it, where I received the letter signed to me, which dated December '74. They offered me a job as a fellow and an instructor in surgery in Baylor College of Medicine, but it was addressed to Baghdad, India. So I'm very grateful to the Indian Postal Office. I repeated ad nauseum. So it shows you the randomness of you and I talking like this. Well, I came from a different stock of you know, my ancestors were, as May, my daughter, the author, call us land pirates. My mom has the land, and we were the subservient to our fathers to do the good or bad deed. When I came here, it was amusing to me because you know, I was older fella, but I was 31, not 31, just approaching 31, and I had my experience in England and here, and I had the experience. And first of all, they tried to change my name into Harry Safi. I thought, well, I will quit and I leave. I'll keep my name. It's bizarre. The system was bizarre and amusing at the same time. And, you know, it looked like people in jail with this working 120 hours a week is not really humane, because you will end up, your mind will be just instinct. You try to save yourself, try to eat and go home and do whatever you want to do. And it's not conducive to a good leadership. One thing you learn from Baylor, the old staff, is their technical skill, which is superior to a lot of people, and you learn a lot of their tricks. But the caveat, you should not be like them. You'll be like institutionalized. You'll be as mean or demeaning, or I personally believe that Homo sapien is one species, and I believe there is no difference between us, regardless where ethnic background. I do believe, and the science proved it, that there is no difference between men and women. Actually, they live longer than us, if you ask me, and they are physically, intellectually, and technically equivalent to the men. But that's a personal belief. I grew up with a very left-wing father and a mother who led her clan. She's in charge of her clan. I still remember as a young kid where 20, 30 old big men, they'll come and listen to her and she tell them what to do. And she's the 4'8". There is no cookbook to show me a good leader. So you have to make mistakes. You have to decide, and your decision has to be for the well-being of everybody, including yourself. Once you start, differentiating and start looking for money, everybody recognize that. Homo sapien have the same chromosome, so they know. And I think in a book I read called Our Inner Ape, this guy who is an anthropologist ended up in a Stone Age village in the north part of Australia, and they landed with their airplane, and the people had never seen a car, let alone an airplane. And he told them, "Would you like to come with us in the airplane?" The two elders, they told him yes, on two conditions: we carry our rocks with us, and you keep the door open. They said no problem. So they kept the door of the airplane. When they flew over the neighboring village, which is their enemy, they dumped the rocks on the village. That shows you man is very smart. We you know, intellectually, when we evolved from Africa 150,000 years ago, we are still the same thing. We have the selfish genes which made us survive Africa with all kind of animals, but at the same time, it can destroy us. Did I answer your question, Sophia?
It was Alejandro's question. Sounds like a good answer to me.
Okay. Well, it's the department
He
is
says
you.
yes.
What?
He says yes. He says yes.
Okay.
There's a message from Dr. Wynn. Thank you, Dr. Safi, for creating our department. We wouldn't be here today otherwise.
Well, Tom, thank you very much for joining us and be part of us. That's wonderful.
Dr. Safi, I have a question.
Yes.
What advice would you give to individuals who are still early in their careers?
Well, you know, you have to know, since I was a young kid, I was abhor authority, and I drove my mom and dad crazy, and never listened to a lot of things. You know, advice has to be based on in science on, you know, you have to study it and you have to see years. I think the advice is if you are in love with something, just concentrate on it. Talent is overrated. I was a mediocre student till I was the fifth grade. In fifth, I was, you know, fighting every day, playing soccer and so on. In fifth grade in Baghdad, I decided to be a good student. Nobody told me. I just decided to concentrate. And I label myself B plus, whatever they call it. So I think the most important thing, don't lie to yourself. When the person you see in the mirror, don't lie. And don't try to be too clever, because other one has the same genetic makeup under you, and don't have an ulterior motive for your things. If you are going to be a surgeon or a researcher, and look at nature, will give you a lot of answers. I don't have a cookbook. I mean, there is a lot of these help book. It's really to help themselves, not for the writer, the author. I think life is unpredictable, and randomness control us. Embrace it when you have the opportunity. If not, then try to find another opportunity. And in fact, it's good in medicine when we write a paper and we didn't prove the point, we learn from it. And this idea, you are always successful, you are always A, it's really a BS. I don't believe in that. I'm a good student. I was, you know, valedictorian on Baghdad of 100, you know, all the students in sixth grader, where you pass your school test, and then you take a national exam called Baccalaureate, 7 days. And if you don't pass that, they don't advance you to junior high. I was good, but it didn't mean anything to me. Just was good in something. That doesn't mean I'm good in everything. I'm skeptic by nature, so but be a human being too. Enjoy a good movie, a good concert, and just not only books. I don't think I answered your question.
No, that was a great question, or that was a great answer. Thank you. And then also Zane just asked, can you name some of your role models who influenced you?
Well, I'm iconoclastic. I don't. I always tell, be a human and don't follow me. Uh, those people affected my life is my mother, who kept us alive and in good shape, and my father, who at the end when he died and I broke down, he said he butt head with the 12 Iraqi dictators. All of them are underground. So I told him touche. The people who are affected me in my life is Dr. Yusuf Animan. That's why I named my son Yusuf, Joe, after him. He introduced me we were 4 residents to Dr. DeBakey, and I was not the senior one. Of course, jealousy and everybody started talking bad about me. I was laughing. And also DeBakey, who took a chance on me, and also now, when moved from Crawford offered me a job accidentally in February of '83. I was on the 4th floor in Funder Brown building. Those who know the Funder Brown building. And I bumped into him accidentally, and he looked at me, do you need a job? I told him, yes, it's better than unemployment. And that's it. This is my negotiation with a job with Dr. Crawford. And after a year, actually after 9 months with him, I wanted to quit. He said, I'll break your legs if you quit on me. So, and Dr. Max Booya and Steve Allen, they took a chance on a guy who's almost a weirdo, doesn't talk directly and tell you what it's in my mind, and we build the beautiful things. But one thing I don't do, I don't lie to people. I don't have any ulterior motive apart from love of science, as you question everything, and I like surgery. And contrary to what I believe, I was not good with my hand when I was a kid. I didn't care about it. So it's once you put your mind to it, you can do anything you want. Of course, you have to have the right, what we call it, randomness to help you, like to have a postal office in India, to send the letter from Baghdad, India to Baghdad, Iraq. You have to meet Dr. Crawford accidentally, and and my family, which is very important to me. Is that answer? Don't have an idol. It's bad for you. Zane, it's bad. Any question?
Dr. Safi, this is Laura Lemoore from Pathology. Thank you for this talk. It was inspiring. I'll give you a little bit of a background about me. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and I moved here when I was a teenager.
Where were you? I didn't hear you. I'm old, so.
I was born and raised in Nigeria.
Nigeria, yes.
And I moved here as a teenager, went to nursing school, and subsequently to medical school, graduated. Went to residency here at UT, and Dr. Booya recruited me after residency for the Cardiovascular Pathology Fellowship. And I remember that morning that he invited me to breakfast with you. And I remember feeling so intimidated in your presence and his presence. And I thought, well, how did I get here? But so thank you for showing me the human side of you today. And thank you for the advice to junior faculty to be true to themselves. It's something that I'm struggling with right now to sort of, carve out what I want my future career path to be. But under the guidance of Dr. Booya, it's been, I would say, a smooth journey so far. But I just wanted to say thank you for this talk, because I found it inspiring in many ways. And
thank you.
I really appreciate the Aortic Genetic Conference that we do. It's something I've learned a lot from. And I believe the interaction between pathology and our clinical teams is extremely crucial to move the institution forward. I'm going to stop there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the system of anatomy, pathology, physiology. When we were in our residency in Baghdad, if a patient died and entered your care, you have, because it's a teaching hospital, you have to have an autopsy and you have to participate in autopsy. And I like surgery. I was not interested in surgery at all, or to be a doctor, because back home, I'm sure in Nigeria the same, that from high school you go to medical school, like the European style, but you have to have a baccalaureate exam.
Right.
In February of '84, a friend of mine, I don't know where he is now, told me, let's go to medical school. I was planning to go to be an architect. I like to paint and I like to draw and I like, history of painting, architecture. So I went, and his cousin was a first year medical student, and he took us to the anatomy hall. It's not like here, which is sanitized. There, you have cadaver in the formaldehyde bath. You take it and you put it on the dissecting room. So it's like the old-fashioned way. And I changed my mind. And that otherwise, if I didn't go to see the anatomy, and our friend wanted to scare me, and I went to medical school for that. So I think you will face difficulty. And I always told my Aunt Joe, you got to face difficulty. Try to solve it with yourself, with others. And if you fail, it's not really a total failure. This idea of zero sum is horrible. Like either I win and you lose. We evolved cooperating with each other from Africa. That's where we came from, in the Rift Valley. Some of us went inside, some of us to the Fertile Crescent. It's really the friendliness is important, because we hunted together, we gathered things, scavenged together, we solved our problem, we huddled together. I remember we have a trip to China, and we took the Chinese airline. So Roy and Tony and myself, we were in their so-called club, and it was empty. It's not for other people to use it. And one guy walked in, and the whole place was empty. He came and sat to the table next door to us, because we human, we like to get together. Contrary to popular belief of that every man for himself, that's not true. We look at when we have a disaster, we always will become one organ, start helping each other. And it's fun. But don't let them, tell you that genetically we are all the same. There is no race. This is a social construct. The ruling class in Europe in the 1500, I'm talking the French Norman, who they made a Faustian deal with the devil to deal with everything. Like when Vasco da Gama had discovered the route to India and discovered Africa, he sent a letter to the Pope. I found the land. What shall I do? He said, the land is yours. How about the people? He told them they are pre-Adam. So this is the stuff, they call it the discovery doctrine. Unfortunately, in our country, one of the Supreme Court, William Marshall, who is a cousin of Thomas Jefferson, based on that, they said the noble savage of every Indian, and we went out. So don't let them affect you. They try to tell you all kind of things. They looked at me, they did a lot of tricks, but I was laughing at them because I'm not better than them, but they are not better than me.
I see. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Safi. That was insightful. And thank you, Dr. Booya, if you're still on the line. Thank you so much for everything.
Dr. Safi, I had another question.
Sure.
That I thought of. In your thoughts and opinions. Where do you see the future of medicine and also of surgery, cardiothoracic and vascular surgery?
Well, predicting the future is difficult. You know, if I know the future, I will take my $2 and go and get me a lottery ticket, and I will win 110 tonight. I don't know really what's going to be. Probably is going to be mostly miniaturized. I think the advances in genetics is going to cure a lot of congenital anomaly before being born by inserting a genes. I think surgery will continue to play an integral part of our life. I think trauma will be here 100 years from now because we drive fast and so on. And also the transplantation, where there will be a breakthrough in having heart or lungs from a sheep or from any, what they call xeno, by inserting a human gene and using it for us. So I think the future is bright, but I don't know what's going to happen because in every work, according to the Harvard Business School, said when a worker enters the workforce, by the time he's done, he change his job or improve on whatever he does 7 times. So when I started surgery in 83, and it was the bigger the incision, the better you are. And now you look at it, everything can be done through a small hole. So nobody can predict the future, but there is always a job for you, and there is and the bright and the adaptive. You know, when we adapt to environment, that's what makes us successful. It's not the brightest, really. That's what in nature. I wish I know the
And
future.
we're eventually gonna get a fair universal coverage system in the United States, I hope.
Well, my dream to have a universal health care, universal education, and basic income, universal basic income. So when things are going bad, at least you have some money. This idea we are lazy, it's absurd.
Dr. Safi, if you could change, what would it be?
I don't know really. Change meant my life.
In the course of your career?
Probably I would have left earlier because I stayed in Iraq in 1970 till 76 before I could leave. I graduated in June of 1970. Unfortunately, I didn't have that option because I remember in July of 1970, our house was surrounded by 4 or 5 Mercedes and people with a Kalashnikov at the house. And my dad was in love with my mom, and he always drink tea with her. And they told him, "You come and become a cabinet minister in the Iraqi government." And he told them, "I'm not shaking hand with fascists." And they took him for 4 years, and I couldn't leave because this is my mom. I have 3 sisters then, and my brother, who Saddam subsequently murdered. So I have 4 years of my life. I had to stay. I couldn't leave. If my dad was not a politician, but that's what if I would have left early because I felt the education system was good in Iraq, but the training was not up to standard. And I reviewed the English and the Americans, and I thought I will give it a try in England. But then I discovered they are a class society in England. It's really, for us in the Arabia, if you speak Arabic, you are Arab. Doesn't matter what we don't have a black or blonde as long as you speak Arabic, you are Arab. So when I moved to England and I saw the class, and first time in my life where they look down upon the Irish, and not only if you are not graduate of Cambridge and Oxford in my time, that's 76, you are nobody. But how many people can go to Oxford and apparently it was a Norman institution until today. They call the Inner Onion. The names of Anglo-Norman names prevail in their professorship. So it's very class oriented. I like their intellectual prowess. I like the way they make fun of themselves. I enjoyed really London. Is one of my favorite. I would have. That's why I said I'm going to go to United States of America. It's a beautiful country, America, and I think it's the closest to. We don't need a perfect in hell, in heaven or hell. It doesn't matter. I just read a book by Baldwin, James Baldwin, the writer, the authors, our native sons, and he has a beautiful writing. Really, his word is amazing. And he said that when he lived in Paris in Latin Quarter, he said the definition of poverty is when you decide whether you buy a cigarette or a cheese sandwich. That's your dilemma. It is fascinating. Any other question? Max, the last talk is you. Because I hope that I fulfill what you want me to do, because you are dear to me.
Well, thanks.
You are the closest to my heart.
Well, and you're closest to my heart. And I think I'm just in awe of what you've accomplished. And it shows, this talk expresses both your scientific expertise and your humanity. And that's the combination of scientific and surgical brilliance with humanity makes you an outstanding human being. And it's an honor to be with you.
Thank you, Max.
I think I speak for everyone, Dr. Safi, when we say you're very inspiring, and we all hope to live to your standard. And I think that is...
Well, my standard is not that, just do your work, and it's okay to make mistakes.
Well, that's a good standard to live by.
No, but really, I mean, anyway.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll see you.